So as you'll know, if you've seen my full OnePlus 8 versus OnePlus 8 Pro comparison, is that the OnePlus 8 Pro is a beefier version of the standard model in most respects, and one of those areas that has been a big improvement is the camera tech. And as you can see, the base OnePlus 8 comes with a triple lens rear setup, whereas here on the OnePlus 8 Pro you actually have a bonus fourth lens stuck in there as well. So both of these smartphones have a 48 megapixel primary lens, although it is a different sensor. It's an IMX689 from Sony here on the OnePlus 8 Pro, whereas it's the oldest Sony IMX586 on the OnePlus 8. You also have a superior ultra-wide angle lens on the Pro version. It's a 48 megapixel compared with a 16 megapixel, and while the Pro version goes with an 8 megapixel telephoto lens giving you a 3x optical zoom, you get a simple macro shooter here on the OnePlus 8. As for that final fourth lens, well, this is a 5 megapixel photochromatic lens here on the OnePlus 8 Pro, which I will explain in a second. So as you can see, very different hardware between these two smartphones, but I wanted to see if that translated directly into better photo and video quality on the OnePlus 8 Pro compared with the OnePlus 8. And so I've been testing them out extensively for over a week now. And obviously because of the lockdown, this testing has mostly taken place in exotic locales such as my kitchen or my garden, but it's still given me a chance to get a feel for the OnePlus 8 and the OnePlus 8 Pro camera tech, and so here's my full review and comparison. And for more on the latest greatest tech, please do subscribe and ding that notifications bell. Cheers! Now both of these phones by default shoot pictures at 12 megapixel resolution, and I definitely noticed quite quickly that the OnePlus 8 Pro produces more vibrant pictures in general compared with the standard OnePlus 8. And even at the 12 megapixel resolution, the OnePlus 8 Pro also tends to capture more sharper detail on occasion as well, especially when there's any kind of strong contrast or lighting involved. While the colours are occasionally a little bit washed out by the OnePlus 8, the Pro definitely keeps on producing those vivid hues. But the OnePlus 8 does hold its own for general HDR smart, certainly performing better than a lot of older OnePlus handsets did in the past. If you're shooting someone against a bright background, for instance, you'll still get respectable clarity with those facial features, although the Pro is once again still a step above, offering just that little bit extra. At any point, of course, you can swap to the ultra-wide angle lenses, and I basically saw the same results as far as detail and color counts go here as well. The OnePlus 8 does absolutely fine, but the Pro beats it for accuracy and can produce sharper pics on demand. And when it comes to zooming, of course, the Pro is once again clearly the best here, no shock at all, thanks to that dedicated telephoto lens with a 3x optical zoom. Meanwhile, the OnePlus 8 is reduced to just using digital zoom to basically crop into a shot with much more pixelated results. Now, as I briefly mentioned before, both the OnePlus 8 and the OnePlus 8 Pro shoot photos at 12 megapixel resolution by default. That's because they both use a bit of pixel binning in order to brighten up a shot when the conditions are a little bit murky perhaps. But you can quickly jump up to 48 megapixel, the maximum resolution for your photos, with a quick tap of this wee jobby up here. On full 48 megapixel resolution, of course, the OnePlus 8 and the OnePlus 8 Pro can capture sharper pictures, although the jump in detail levels isn't quite as pronounced as you might expect. I had to zoom right into my pics to really notice any kind of difference, even when checking out those photos on a big laptop display. Now at night time, the OnePlus 8 Pro can definitely capture much brighter, sharper images on that standard auto mode with no assistance at all. In comparison, the OnePlus 8 offers more accurate colour reproduction, but the overall shot is a lot more murky and basically looks like ass. If you want to zoom in low light, things are more evenly matched between the OnePlus blowers, but the Pro of course once again has that dedicated optical zoom to grab finer detail. As for the ultra-wide angle lens at night time, well, the 8 Pro again works really well, whereas the standard OnePlus 8, well, just absolutely forget about it. You do of course have OnePlus's dedicated nightscape mode, which you can use on either the primary or the ultra-wide angle lenses on these phones, and this helps out a little in very dark scenarios, producing brighter results. It's a more noticeable difference on the standard OnePlus 8 compared with the Pro, of course. And this nightscape mode also helps out with those high contrast low light shots, tempering the brighter bits and making everything look a bit more natural. Although once again, the ultra wide angle lens is pretty cack on the normal OnePlus 8, even with that night mode switched on. If you want a good bit of bokeh action in your shots, then good news, OnePlus has once again nailed the portrait mode, although when you swap to this to use the primary lens, for some reason it zooms right the in. I'm not really sure what that's all about, but you can use the portrait mode with that ultra wide angle lens instead if it's going to pose a problem. And I found that both the OnePlus 8 and the Pro model serves up accurate edge detection. Your subject is nice and crisp and clear, and everything in the background is blurred out, although there's no customization. You can't change the level of bokeh or add in any funky effects, for instance. And then there's that photochromatic optic lens here on the OnePlus 8 Pro, which is certainly very unique. It could definitely create some very interesting results, although the best use is definitely taking really creepy ass pictures of people, especially children. They're absolutely terrifying. So yeah, anyone who wants to design a poster image for a horror film or something like that, basically job done. For everyone else, not really sure whether it's going to get much use, but we'll see. So let's take a look at the video results, and they're very similar between the OnePlus 8 and the OnePlus 8 Pro for your everyday home movies. Colours look natural for the most part, slightly more vibrant in places, but not to a sickly degree, and that 4K resolution keeps everything pin sharp with gorgeous lifelike smoothness. When you bump it up to 4K, it's 60 frames per second. Likewise, the audio pickup was good on both of these blowers. Commentary comes through cleanly, even when you're speaking quite softly, and distortion from the wind and other effects didn't really seem too bad at all, although admittedly I haven't had a chance to test these blowers in proper blustery weather. And just as the OnePlus 8 Pro is better than its smaller sibling in HDR situations for photos, this premium blower also beats the standard OnePlus 8 for high contrast video as well, as it actually has a dedicated HDR mode. You can't swap to the other lenses in this mode, just the primary one, but it does work it up to 4K resolution, and it makes a definite impact when shooting subjects up close against a bright background. Although in my testing there wasn't much change when shooting more distant subjects. As for the image stabilization, well, that's great on both as well, even at that maximum 4K 60 FPS level, which is where many rivals often start to struggle. There's even a super stable mode available on both of these handsets that actually works at the 4K resolution as well, although only at 30 FPS. Now on both of these blowers you can also zoom in up to 10 times while shooting video, although anything on the standard OnePlus 8 past about 2 or 3 times starts to get really grainy because it's just using digital zoom. On the OnePlus 8 Pro, of course, it swaps to that telephoto lens automatically when you hit that 3x zoom level, and I found that in my testing the picture quality stays pretty decent up to about the 5x level, and then once again it starts to get a bit fuzzy. As for the selfie cameras, well, you get pretty much identical results on the 8 and the 8 Pro. They both rock a 16 megapixel shooter, and it does a good job as long as the lighting's on your side. The portrait software smarts add an accurate bit of bokeh action behind you when needed, although at night time the results are definitely not as good on either of these handsets. Even when using that screen flash, you get quite soft photos with background lighting blown right out. And again, when it comes to shooting video using that front-facing camera, no real difference between the OnePlus 8, which is what I'm shooting on right now, and the OnePlus 8 Pro as well. Both of them will shoot at full HD resolution at 30 FPS. There's no 4K option. And I've just swapped now to the Pro just to show you there's no real difference in the picture quality, the audio pickup quality. HDR smart's absolutely fine. And so there you have it. There is my final verdict on the OnePlus 8 and OnePlus 8 Pro camera tech after just over a week of testing them out and about. So as you can see, the Pro is clearly the better camera of the two. It's better for your everyday photos, as well as offering a few little extra bonus features like the HDR video mode, and of course you've got that telephoto lens if you're going to be zooming into shots, doing lots of touristy pics, or just taking pictures of your cat and your kids, things like that, without being too intrusive. Definitely good stuff. But while the standard OnePlus 8 is admittedly a bit more limited compared with its bigger sibling, it still will do most people absolutely fine for your everyday shareable pics, just capturing some simple home movies, things like that. It'll do the job. Oh, and of course one of the reasons for getting the Pro is if there's anyone in your life that you're not particularly fond of, then all you need to do is take some pictures of your kids using that photochromatic lens, send it to them, and it'll give them endless night terrors. So are you tempted by the OnePlus 8 and OnePlus 8 Pro? Definitely be great to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. Please do check out all my other videos that I've done on these bad boys, including the in-depth comparison, the unboxings, got a full review coming on both of these handsets as well, tips and tricks guides, loads of stuff basically. So definitely please poke subscribe, ding that notifications bell, and have yourselves a lovely week, people. Cheers, love you.